In a quiet village, where mornings smelled like dew and roasted maize, there lived a little girl named Amara. She was 8 years old, small, curious, with the kind of smile that looked like sunlight trying to stay on her face. Her world was simple. She believed in 3 things: that kindness could fix anything, that her notebook could hold her dreams, and that one day she'd become a nurse. Amara loved watching the nurse at the village clinic. The woman's white uniform looked like hope, clean, calm, and powerful. Amara would stand by the window, watching her work with patience, whispering, "One day, that will be me." Her mother believed it too, but school in the village was too far, and money always too little. So, when her aunt and uncle from the city offered to take her in to help her go to school, it sounded like a blessing. Everyone said she was lucky. The morning Amara left her village, her mother tied a red ribbon in her hair. She said, "Don't forget who you are, my child. Be good, learn well, and write me when you can." Amara nodded, clutching her little bag, half filled with clothes, half filled with dreams. In the beginning, the city was everything she had imagined. Tall houses, electric light, new uniforms. Her aunt's house smelt of fried eggs and disinfectant. Her uncle was quiet, but polite. She had her own bed, and for the first time, she saw a television. At school, she sat in the front row. Her handwriting was neat, her voice barely above a whisper. When the teacher asked what she wanted to be, she stood and said, "A nurse, so people won't die from pain." The class laughed, but the teacher smiled. That evening, Amara drew another stethoscope in her notebook with a big red heart beside it. But as weeks turned to months, little things began to change. Her laughter, once quick and free, became measured, cautious. Her red ribbon disappeared. And sometimes, when her teacher asked if everything was fine at home, Amara just nodded. They said she was too quiet to be noticed, until her silence became evidence. Time moved differently in the city. Days blurred into one another, and Amara's once colorful world began to fade, like chalk drawings after the rain. At first, no one noticed. Her aunt thought she was adjusting. Her teacher assumed she was just shy. But inside Amara's small frame, fear had begun to live like an uninvited guest. She stopped drawing, stopped singing, stopped asking questions. Her eyes, once bright with curiosity, now followed the floor more than faces. Sometimes she flinched when someone called her name, as if sound itself had become dangerous. Her teacher, Mrs. Adebayo, started noticing small things. Amara's late arrivals, the dark rings under her eyes, the way she winced when sitting down. One day, after class, she tried to ask, "Amara, my dear, are you okay?" Amara smiled, small and forced. Then she looked away. At home, her aunt told neighbors that Amara was just stubborn these days. She scolded her for being slow, for daydreaming, for not smiling enough. And the uncle, the one everyone respected, the one who read Bible verses after dinner, he would rest his hand on Amara's shoulder too long, call her into rooms that stayed locked too long. Behind those closed doors, silence became survival. Every cry swallowed, every bruise explained, every truth buried. And when she tried to speak once, whispering to her aunt through trembling lips, her aunt turned sharply, her voice like ice. Don't ever say that again. Do you want to destroy this family? From that day on, Amara learned what many children learn too early, that adults could be wrong, that home could be dangerous, and that truth could cost your safety. Her teacher noticed her shrinking frame. The school nurse noticed infections that didn't make sense. But paperwork was delayed, letters were being processed. No one wanted to accuse a good man without proof. By the time someone finally decided to check on her, Amara had stopped showing up to school altogether. The neighbor said she's probably being homeschooled now. The aunt said she's fine, just sick. And the city, like it often does, moved on. That was the season when silence grew louder than screams. The season when innocence started dying, long before her body ever did. By the time they brought Amara to the clinic, she could barely stand. Her once bright eyes had dulled, her voice thin as paper. The nurse who received her remembered the smell of antiseptic and blood, the kind that doesn't come from a fall or a simple fever. She was only 8, but her body told a story far older, of fear, infection, and the kind of pain no child should know. The doctor asked questions. The auntie answered all of them. She's just been stubborn about eating. She fell while playing. She's always been sickly. But Amara's eyes told the truth her mouth could not. In the quiet of that hospital ward, there was one person who refused to look away. A nurse named Efe. She saw through the lies. She saw the fear that lived in the girl's silence. One night, when the others had gone, Efe sat by her bedside. Amara's breath came shallow. She reached for Efe's hand, her fingers barely touching. "Auntie Nurse," she whispered, "will I still go to school?" Efe hesitated, then smiled softly. "Yes, my dear, you go to the best one." Amara's lips trembled into a faint smile. She looked past Efe at something distant, something no one else could see. "I wanted to be a nurse," she murmured, "so no one would die from pain like mine." Those were her last words. Simple, pure. The kind of words that hold an entire lifetime of suffering and hope inside them. When her small body finally gave up, Efe stayed by her side long after the monitors went silent. She wrote Amara's name in her notebook because she knew the world would try to forget it, but some names refuse to fade. They echo in the hearts of those who bear witness. They turn pain into purpose. And that's how a movement began, with one nurse, one notebook, and one name the world needed to remember. Amara's death didn't make the evening news. No headlines, no breaking stories, just another child gone too soon. Her body was taken back to the village in silence. A small coffin, wrapped in white cloth, riding in the back of a pickup truck. No reporters followed. No cameras waited. At the burial, her mother wept until her voice broke. The aunt stood at a distance. The uncle wore dark glasses and told the villagers it was God's will. But the nurses at the clinic knew. Efe knew. And sometimes, knowing is where revolutions begin. She couldn't sleep after Amara died. The sound of that frail voice, so no one would die from pain like mine, kept echoing in her mind. One evening, she opened her old phone, took a photo of Amara's notebook, and wrote 3 words.
She wanted justice. Below it, she added a single hashtag: Justice for Amara. At first, it was one post, then 10, then 100. Teachers, mothers, strangers, all sharing, all speaking, all breaking the silence that once protected monsters. Someone dug deeper and found a case, a real one, eerily similar, buried in legal dust and delays. And for the first time, people began to connect the dots between fiction and reality. Soon, Amara's name was everywhere. Her story became a mirror, showing a society that looked away too often and systems that failed the smallest among us. Petitions began, documentaries followed, and in classrooms, little girls began to say, "I want to be a nurse like Amara." The uncle still walks free. The aunt still says nothing. But Amara's name has outlived their silence. Because sometimes, justice doesn't start in courtrooms. It starts in stories. And stories live forever.
Amara's story is fictional, but her pain was not. She was inspired by Ochanya Ogbanje, a 13-year-old Nigerian girl whose life was stolen by the very people meant to protect her. For 5 years, she endured abuse in silence until her body couldn't carry the pain anymore. Ochanya dreamed of becoming a nurse too, and like Amara, she never got the chance. Her story is not just a tragedy. It is an indictment of silence, of systems that fail children, and of a society that moves on too quickly. If you've watched this far, please, don't scroll past. Say her name. Type it. Share it. Let the world remember who Ochanya was and what she deserved. Use the hashtag Justice for Ochanya, because every time you say her name, you stand against the silence that killed her. And maybe, just maybe, one more voice could be the one that finally makes the world listen. For Ochanya, for every child still afraid to speak, we will not be silent.